Good morning and to everybody. Thank you for being here at our third installment of our professional development session of the summer. I'm Danny Rubin from the Rubin team. As many of you know, or maybe raise your hand if you're new to us. Is this your first time at one of our sessions? Hands up if you're new to the Rubin community. We provide resources for business communication skills. We're based in Virginia, and we help students with classic problems like, can I see a show of hands one more time? How many of your students write emails like text messages? Hands up for that. Oh yeah. How many of your students write the whole email in the subject line like a text and just send it off, right? So what we do is equip you and your students with practical communication guidance so they can look their best and have a chance at opportunities. And one of those moments is coming up for many of you in the fall or spring, the career fair. And it's a topic that we haven't really gone into in depth before, and I'm excited to do it today. We have a lot of great stuff prepared and that we'll share with all of you. You can take back to school after today, or some of you are in school right now. You can use it tomorrow. And so we're going to dive into several hands-on topics, make this a very practical hour for all of you. I'll start off the way that we always do, offering some free resources, okay? Everything we're gonna do today, we can provide to you in a Google Drive folder. I want you to read this list on the right side very carefully. A presentation and worksheet on how to research companies ahead of the career fair, reading and discussion on dress code, how to prepare questions for employers when you walk up to the booth, how to talk about yourself through stories of success, and how to write an email to the employer after career fair. So the whole process, the before, the during, and the after, giving you practical lessons to give to the students. So they are going to be the sharpest students in the bunch when they walk in that room. That's the goal today, to make your students superstars when they come in that room and when it's over. If you would like these resources, this is how we do it. It keeps it organized and easy. I want you to go to the chat right now. I'll mention it again at the end, but I'll say it now first. If you want these resources, type interested and your email address in the chat. And if you're new to our community, the goal is to speak with you briefly tomorrow or Friday to understand exactly what your career fair looks like, what your classes look like, and help you make sense of it. Because it's hard to have conversations here and we like to talk to you. So the goal is, if you're new to us, never had our stuff before, we will send you an invitation for a phone call tomorrow or Friday. And if the time does not work, you can just suggest a new one. It's not a big deal. We're happy to work on your schedule, but we want to speak to you to make sure you know what you've got. Okay? So I will mention this again at the end. Thank you to those who put there, make sure the word interested and your email address. And you'll be hearing from us later today. Now, as you continue to do that, a couple of news and notes. We have one final session of our PD series. It's going to be August 10th, 11 a.m. Eastern, on expert lessons for group dynamics, for team projects, in the class, clubs, just really practical lessons and guides and videos, tutorials to share with students on group dynamics, how to work as a team, send group messages, lots of different good things. Also, if you're watching this on a recording, many times people can't be here right when we do it live. You can send us an email and ask for our career fair resources that way. And finally, everybody here today live, oops, sorry, that's the wrong certificate, grab the wrong one. You'll get a certificate for today, the career fair certificate. That's for the next one. Got a little ahead of myself. So look out for a certificate for today's session coming to you tomorrow. Okay. So thank you to those who put their information in. And again, for those who come in a little late, we'll mention it again at the end. Just for some background, before we dive into this material, for those who are new to us. So I'm Danny Rubin, and prior to founding our company, Rubin, I was a TV reporter for a CBS news station in Virginia. And I was also a consultant to USA Today and a show on NBC called Meet the Press. Anybody seen Meet the Press before? Hands up if you've ever watched Meet the Press. So what I'm showing you are industry best practices for communication skills. How to write and speak at the highest levels, observing people at national news. How do they do it? And bringing those techniques into the classroom. And in today's specific context, career fairs. These are really powerful techniques that I'm excited to show you because I know they're going to make a huge impact with your students when they walk in that room. I just know it. And I would love to hear from you after that career fair, how it went. Okay, so let's jump in to the resources. Today, we are going to be learning out of our company's online curriculum. Some of you might use it in your schools. It's called eMERGE. And it's a big library of writing and speaking skills for college and career. And just to give you understanding, and we're going to go into some of these lessons today, we cover email writing, life skills, phone and video etiquette. We also cover networking and resumes cover. We're going to talk about the storytelling approach in a few minutes as it relates to job interviews. And we also do communication for entrepreneurship, learning how to write across a variety of real world business scenarios, and leadership communication skills. Learning how to write and speak as an aspiring leader or manager. So we are a big library of how-tos drawing on industry best practice. And we're going to go through many set lessons today to understand how to be on our game for career fairs. The first thing we're going to talk about is not the career fair itself. It's what happens before the career fair. And if any of you have been to our sessions before, we do a sessions during the school year for students called virtual internships, which I should mention at the end. And during the summer, I always talk about an R word that we should always do before a big moment. Does anybody know that word who's been to us before? The word I always hit on and talk about before you have the interview, before you meet, before you email, what should you do is we should do our, thank you, Jennifer. We should do our research. Now, okay, I want to give you a little secret that's been hiding in plain sight for years and years about career fairs. You ready? I'm going to turn off the stream for a second. With your career fairs, do you often know who the employers will be before the career fair? Tell me in the chat, yes or no. Do you typically know who's going to be there before the career fair? I'm seeing a lot of yeses. You always know the companies that will be in attendance, right? So this is the first exercise for the students, and it uses so many work readiness skills all wrapped up in one activity, okay? You're going to be helping students to say, okay, here's the list of companies. I want you to pick at least two that interest you right on the surface, and we're going to do a little bit of a research exercise, all right? So I'm going to give you an example of one that I always like to draw on, because where I am in Virginia, it's a large employer. It's a health system. They hire a lot of nurses, doctors, every type of job. Now, let's say that's called Centera. Let's say that Centera is going to be at the career fair, and the student is interested in medicine. So you would send the student to the website, and the task is to not just read about what the company sort of does generally, like a mission statement, but we want to know what the company is up to, like its latest and greatest accomplishments. So here's my question to you in the chat, please. If you go to any website for any business or nonprofit, any organization, and you want to know their latest and greatest achievements, what page or pages would you look for? Where would you go? Tell me in the chat, where would you go? What page would you look for? It's a good guess, Christy. The about oftentimes doesn't change over the years. They write it once and it sits there. So now we're getting there. Michelle says the news tab. Janice, right on the money, press releases, community involvement. So let's see what we can find here. I'm not seeing that up here, right? But we can also go to the footer. Let's go down to the bottom. Let's see what's going on. Let's look on that. Let's look on that left side. Do we see some stuff on that left side? Yeah. This is the gold mine right here. We're going to go to newsroom first. The internet won't fail me. All right. Now look at this. Look what's going on in here. 11 Centura hospitals named among the nation's top performing for heart attack patients. Breaking ground on $158 million campus with 80-bed hospital. So what are we getting at? The activity is a student goes to the site, goes to the news, and they're going to read a story, any story. And they're going to actually read it like all the way through. Shocking, right? Who does that anymore? Who actually reads top to bottom? They're going to read it, take some notes. They could even print it out and bring it with them to the career fair. So when they walk up to that booth, they will not have to ask, right? What's a typical question when you walk up to a booth? You say, so what do you guys do at this? What do you do at this company, right? Say, so what do you do here? And the employer has to start from the very beginning and say, well, we're at this and we do this and we do this. Now, what if the student walked up with notes or with the printout and said, hi, I was on your website last night. I read about how you just broke ground on that $158 million new medical campus. What do you think the employer would say back to that student? Tell me in the chat. What would they say? What would their reaction be if the student walked up and had already knew the latest and greatest with that company? Alyssa said it best. Wow. Wow. Who is this young man, young woman? Where did you come from? And then they're going to say, what school do you attend, right? And when they say your school, does that make your school look good? Does it make you look good? If your students are filtering out into that room and just firing off facts about these companies like they already knew about them, because they do. So does everybody look good in this equation? The student, you, the school, your administrator, right? Now, let me ask you, this exercise we just did, how long would it take for the student to Google the site, visit the site, go to the news page, read a story, print it out? How much time? How much time would that take? 10 minutes. 10 minutes. See, this is the beautiful thing about career fairs. The answers are already there. You know who's going to be there. The students do not need to walk in. Hey, there's Sanal. Welcome, glad to have you. 1 minute. See, he's a very tech savvy guy, so he would do it in 1 minute. His students would be fast. So this is right there. It's on the internet, and the students can impress right away through their preparation. But it also speaks to a bigger life lesson. The idea that before you have a big moment, you got to know who you're talking to. You shouldn't walk in that room completely with an empty head. There's no reason. We already knew the answers. So we're teaching so many good research skills, retention, synthesizing information. And by bringing up the information, they go right into a conversation. And do you think the students who do come with their research stand a better chance of landing an opportunity? What do you think? Yes or no? The students who come in and say, so what do you do? Versus the ones that already have their notes. Who's more likely to get that opportunity? A or B? B being the one with research. A or B? Tell me. Hey there, Janet. So many familiar faces. Absolutely B. How many of you think you could do this with your students before the career fair? Hands up if you can do this. So this is what journalists do, right? You have to research your story subject. You got to know what you're getting into. And so I'm just curious, actually. Let's say your career fair would have 20 employers there. How many companies would you want your students to individually research before that day? Show me a number in the chat. How many would you want them to have really thoroughly looked up? What would be a good number for you? I'm curious to know too. Would it be 3, 2, 3 to 5? I'm seeing a lot of 5s, 3 to 5. So this is a great exercising class, 30 to 40 minutes, and they come in with their research. What do you think? It's be better if they printed out what they read and bring it in their portfolio. And like they come with their notes, not just in their head, but they like really have it on paper, because then the employer's like, whoa, you guys are really looking us up. Right? So I'm so glad we have the opportunity to discuss this today, because I know, and you know, I mean, just think about the impact this is going to have when they go and do this. And then all the employers are like, man, every student from such and such class like was just on fire in there. Right. And you're like, my little sneaky tactic. Nobody saw it coming, right? What's amazing is all the answers we need out there in the world are already sitting on the internet. It's just about thinking about these opportunities in different ways. Yes, thank you, Monique. Print so they, right. And that's also true. You know, there's no reason to have to memorize things, even in interviews. Why memorize it? There's no point. Bring your notes, bring things to write on, bring your printouts. The more you show me, the more it means that you what? If you bring in all those notes, what does it show about you? That you what? You care. You're serious. You want this. And it's so hard to find people out there who truly want it and are willing to do extra. And when you see it, you know. So that's the first thing I wanted to share with you. And I feel like we all are on the same page. So I'm thrilled that you can run out there this year and you know, when they say, wow, your students were just so dynamite in there, you can tell them your secrets or not. It's up to you. You know, you can share this. It could be your little, I mean, it's in your hands now. But this is what journalists do. And this is how we take real world best practice and bring it right in the classroom. Let's keep going to our next topic. Close this one out. All right. Now, let's say we get into discussion, right? We start talking. They're like, wow, you know, you did great research and really appreciate you've looked us up. So tell me, let me go up my chat. What is the number one question people ask in interviews or ask in a setting like a career fair? What would the employer ask? What's that classic question? Tell me. So tell me, what's that? Tell me about yourself, right? The classic question. Tell me about yourself. Is that not the broadest question ever, right? And you're and at any age, we're like, well, so what we often say, we often fall back on adjectives. We say, well, I'm hardworking and I'm dependable and I'm really passionate about medicine or law, or I'm a problem solver, right? Or who's ever heard this one? I'm a natural born leader. Anybody heard these before? Right? So what we fall back on in the moment, or we just use a lot of adjectives. But how many people could say to an employer, I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated, and I have a lot of passion? How many people could say those words in that career fair room? Could everybody say that? Right? And so once they show up with their research, they're already on fire. They're already up here. They're already like halfway to being chosen. Now it's time to talk about ourselves. And what I advocate again are with our notes in front of us, the students develop what I call my 3 stories. See, stories we talked about many times in our webinars are more effective. Stories of overcoming challenge are better than saying, I have overcome challenges. Who knows the expression? Show me, don't what? Show me, don't, what are those other 2 words? You got to show me, don't tell me. It's not worth a lot to say you're great. I need an example. I need something to hold on to. So what I encourage students to do, and again, another great activity to do before they go, is to develop 3 stories they could share during the day. 2 of them relate to their work ethic, and 1 of them is related to just something, a funny thing that happened, something they did on the weekend, showing more of their personality, what they like to do. So the employer could see, well, what do you like to do on the weekends? What are some of your hobbies? If they ever ask that. But the first 2 are related to sort of who you are when things go wrong. Raise your hand if everything always goes right for you all the time. I'm not gonna see any hands up. Raise your hand if things always go wrong. We're always having to figure it out on the fly. And when things break down, yes, nothing goes as expected or planned. It's how we react to it, right? So here is what I'm getting at. I'm going to read a little story to you, and I want you to understand what we're getting at. So here's another typical question, like, what's your greatest strength, or tell me who you are, right? I think my greatest strength is I'm resourceful. Actually, I have a great story about that. A year ago, half of our team at the nonprofit got sick with the flu. It's an 8-person team. We were down to 4 employees for an entire week. We also had a huge program the same weekend, a jump rope for health event with over 250 children. With only 4 of us in the office, we had to use our time and energy wisely. I handled online signups and coordinated with the caterer. I directed 2 of my coworkers to oversee the awards presentation and music, and our 4th coworker was our intern, Casey. I taught Casey how to work the phone to answer questions from parents and media. We worked hard that week, but the 4 of us got it done. The jump rope event was a success, so I can rise to the challenge, even with limited resources or staff, not miss a beat. Wow, what a strong manager, what a strong person. Poised in everything. So when you hear this story, what are some words that come to mind, some adjectives, some qualities that come to mind for this young person? What do they say? Give me a word in the chat. What do they demonstrate to you? Resourceful. What else? Flexible, problem solver, teamwork. What else we got? We could rattle off every good adjective in the book, right? And take initiative, but did you see a sentence of those? Did the person say all those words in one long sentence? No, but those words came through. You felt those words. So this is what I'm getting at. When you come into that room, you start talking about their work and how great their work is, and you've researched it, you got it in front of you, you're interested in it. And then when they want to talk about you, you're ready with a story. You came in that room ready with a story. I encourage you, if you do this exercise, is you have them work on their stories of overcoming challenges in class, have them practice saying it out loud. So when they go to the career fair, they've already done it before. And they can look at their notes and say, oh, yeah, the sick day, I want to tell that story. And they say it like they said it in class. So they have an incredible research, an unforgettable story. They're going to get job offers before they leave the room that day. They're going to be on fire to that degree. Like no other student is going to come in with this level of preparation and thought about this moment. The employer is going to be blown away, truly blown away. And what I love about these techniques is that they are available and accessible to everyone. Every student can do this. Raise your hand if you agree with that. Could any student research a company, bring notes? Could any student tell a story? This is not limited to certain populations. This is for everyone. And so we talk a lot in our material in these sessions about this is providing access to opportunity for all students. Everyone deserves a chance in the world, but it's a two-way street. You don't just get picked because people owe you something. Nobody owes you anything. You got to make them care. And you do it by these techniques. So we do our research, we tell our stories. Now, let's go into another topic of developing questions beyond that. We did our research. We want to have a couple of questions prepared too. So again, I hope I'm giving you a lot of in-class exercises that can be done leading up to the big day. Doing the research, working on our stories, and even developing some questions. And in our curriculum, we have this list of the 4 questions everyone should ask in a job interview. And we're going to modify it a bit for career fairs. Let me just show you what's going on in here because it'll just give you food for thought. Because I assume many of you also help with job interviews during the year as well. I'm assuming. So you just use it for whatever it's for. Okay. So the first question, this is, again, we talk about like really winning somebody over in the first few minutes. We call it the background check. Now, how many times, I'm curious here, in career fairs, how often do you actually know the people who will be there for the company? Does anybody know the actual people that have been assigned by the company to be at the booth? Anybody have that information ahead of time? Tell me in the chat. Is it typically no, some, but not all? Okay. So let's say, let's stay in the context of career fairs. Let's say you know some of the people who will be there. You know their names and where they work. So where would you send the students to look up the person they might be meeting with? Where would they go to look up the person they might meet with? LinkedIn. Let's say they don't have a LinkedIn profile. Where else would you go? Social media. Where else? Don't forget about where we started, right? Company website. Thank you, Mindy. Company website. All right. So this is the next level move. You ready? The students are going to look up a person and they're going to read their bio or their experience. And they're going to come up with a question related to the person's career. For example, I noticed you started your career in marketing for Ringling Brothers Circus. What was that experience like? Imagine if a student walked up to a career fair booth, had done research on the company and research on the person they're talking to. The person's head's going to shoot off their neck. I don't recommend students look through the FBI. If this person at the career fair has records in the FBI, maybe they shouldn't be at the career fair. Just one man's take. So again, just think about the levels of shock from the other side. If the student knows about the company, they know about the person. Oh my goodness. They're going to be like, where did you come from? Who are you? What planet are you from that you've been this thorough? But again, it's not FBI, under wraps information. It's sitting on the internet. It's sitting on the internet right there for anyone to find. We just have to go look. And again, just like looking up the company, it's another 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to read their bio and come up with a question. This is where it really rubber meets the road here. We want students to be critical thinkers, right? You're going to read, if the student is really interested in photography, interested in art, working in a kitchen, working at a restaurant, and they know that there's a chef that's going to be there, and they read the chef's bio, we need to push the student to say, can you think of a question you'd want to ask this person about their job, right? And it's making them have to sit there and really think about it and say, what would I want to ask this person? What am I curious about related to their job? So again, just on so many levels, we're really challenging students. And then the output is this incredible performance at the career fair. So this is the first question, is about the person, if you know who they are. The second one's more broad and can be done all time. It's called the Office Insight, where you're going to come up with a question off of what you've read about on the company website. Like, I read several of your press releases and see you're making a push to carry more gluten-free products. How big is the demand right now for gluten-free foods? It can be anything. You read a story about whatever their latest accomplishment, have them come up with one question about it. So they say, I read about this and I have a question about it. And that really completes it. And it's just extra impressive. The other two questions, just so you know, I don't think they're necessary for the career fair, but just to show you what's here, and you'll have this in the Google Drive folder. One is trying to think about the company in the context of the larger industry, to say, I see in your space that this big grocery store just bought this little one. What does that takeover say to you with respect to your company? This is like going even further, and you're welcome to have them do this. But I would say this would be like bonus. But to think about how, every company faces challenges and opportunities, right? So to come in there already thinking about what they're dealing with would be just another complete, and trust me, most adults would never go this far either. So if you can train 16, 17-year-olds to do stuff like this, it'll benefit them the rest of their lives. And the last thing, again, could be extra credit here, is called the inception, where the student comes in with an idea they may already be able to contribute. Like, if I was an intern, I would love to help you with such and such. I like the way your store offers deals based on previous purchases. For me, it's a smart strategy. Would it be cool to do a targeted campaign to reach people where they spend time online? So this is more of an interview where you're coming in saying, like, I already have ideas, I can contribute. Nothing to stop a student from saying it in a career fair context. But again, I'm just saying these two are more like that extra. I wouldn't say they're critical. Everything else we've discussed is frankly enough to win them over. But this is just other ways to approach, because what we're getting at here, I'll get out of the screen share for a minute. There's too many tired, typical questions people ask in interviews or career fairs. What are some typical interview questions people ask? It's usually related to themselves, right? Their benefits. It's like, when do I start? What's the pay? What's the vacation time? All these things about where would I sit? What would I do? Me. And what I'm getting at is I want the student to be totally focused on the company in those early moments. Focus on the person you're talking to, focus on their business, focus on what they're doing, what they're proud of, and how you could help with that. And all the things related to what they're going to do for you can come a bit later on. But in those early moments, it's all about showing you just want to jump in and be a great member of the team. Raise your hand if that makes sense to you, what I'm getting at here. Focusing on others, not yourself. But of course, when it's time, when they say, tell me about yourself, you tell a story, of course, you're allowed to talk about yourself in that context, but to focus on all these HR related, what are you going to do for me type questions, it's going to turn people off. This is the stuff that's going to make them love you and say, good Lord, this person came in and just knocked our socks off. And, we would love to have them. Now, let's talk about afterwards. After the career fair, what comes next? How many of you have students write thank you messages to employers they met? Does anybody do that? See some hands going up. What do you do? How do you decide which ones to send messages to? Because if there's 20 people in the room, 20 companies, like which ones do they message? I'm curious to know what you do now. How do you do it? Please share in the chat. You let them pick. Okay. All right. So let's talk about what that email can look like. Again, doing that little bit extra every step of the way. That's what makes the difference in a crowded room. So let's look at the email. Okay. Ones they had the most personal connection with, or the ones they were connected with. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So let's use that context here. Okay. So let's look at this email. And every part of this email has a strategy. Subject line, follow up, your first and last name from the name of the job fair. Why are we doing that? Why are we putting our name and the job fair in the subject line for a very busy person who gets 100 million emails a day? Why are we doing that? Why our name and the job fair in the subject line? Why do you think? As opposed to saying, nice to meet you, or follow up, or thanks again. So you know where they met you. Because they do many job fairs. It would be the first thing they'd see before they read the email. All correct answers. The answer is D, all of the above. You're right, you're right, you're right. We need them to see our email first and open it. Say, oh yes, I remember meeting such and such at that fair. Yes, let me open that. Now, it was great to meet you earlier today at the name of, we continue to say the name of the job fair. Proper nouns, proper nouns, proper nouns. After we spoke, I did more research on the company. And I find the work you do interesting, and you could even name another project. Maybe they researched another thing they didn't even mention yet. I also enjoyed reading about this, or I enjoyed talking to you about this and this. Your data analytics project for the military. Be specific. You can say, I read more about it, or I enjoyed hearing you tell me about the name of the project. Name it. Say what it was. Don't just say, I had a great time talking to you. It was fascinating. Your company's amazing. Be specific. And then whatever comes next, I attach my resume. Let me know if we can talk again. I want to learn more about the company, how I can be an asset. So that part can take a lot of different forms. Whatever comes next, and you can guide them on what comes next and what the purpose of the meeting was, if it leads to a job shadow, an interview, an internship, a job. This part's like whatever comes next, but this part is critical to show them that you're still thinking hard, you're still doing your research, you're still speaking in specifics. And from there, I have to believe that if they've done everything we discussed today, something good is going to happen. Raise your hand if you think that. Now, nothing is 100%, but something good's going to happen if you come in with this type of performance. Someone is going to want you for something, because what's the expression? Good work is hard to what? Good work is hard to, what's that word? Hard to find. Good people are hard to find because these are not common. These are not common skills, but they can be. You have the capability to bring it into the classroom and make it these dedicated activities, and it can be a reality. It doesn't have to be the 1 in a million. It can be all of them. And I think they'll also have a much better experience, and they'll also be more confident because it's hard to walk up to these tables and start talking to people and just strike up conversation. It's hard at any age. So if they come in with their notes and their stories, it's like they're ready to go. And they don't have to feel awkward about small talk. It's just, they just jump right in because they already have stuff to say. And it hopefully will make the experience a lot easier too, to learn how to talk to adults, which is essentially what's going on here. So for all of those reasons, I hope that, again, we'll pass this material out, and I hope that you will be able to really make use of it. Now let's do one more thing, and we'll head for home and get you out of here a little early. Still counted as a full hour though. Okay, got my word on that, on the certificate. Let's talk about the resume. How many of you are helping students with their resumes before they go to the career fair? Some hands. All right. So let's talk about one more thing to make them shine when they walk in that room. I want you to look at these 3 bullet points of somebody who works in a medical office. Answer phones and provide customer service at a medical office. Assist people with concerns in a friendly and courteous manner. File patient paperwork and help to keep the office organized. Who here thinks that these 3 bullets are really engaging and interesting? Anybody think these are really fun to read and get you excited? I don't. Is there anything wrong with them? They're not offensive or inappropriate. They're just, what we often do is whatever job we have, we take the job description, take the bullet points of the job and put them on our resume. But this is not engaging and it's not memorable. Anybody who works in any kind of office setting could write these bullets. So we're going to add something to these bullets, and I want you to tell me what's different now. Answer more than 75 phone calls a day at one of the busiest medical practices in Houston. Check in 50 to 60 patients each day, often work with 3 to 4 people at a time. Help to manage files for nearly 2,700 patients and digitize critical medical information. So right away, what is different? Thank you, Monique. More specific data, right? There's numbers. We also named a city. So now we're painting a picture. Same person, but now we're showing how hectic it is in their environment, right? It's all different now. Same person though. Which person would you be more interested in talking to? A or B? B being the one I'm on right now. Which one would you be like, yes, interesting, right? So this is the challenge for the students. Another opportunity for an exercise. If you're looking for 30-minute little things to do, here's another one. You look at their resume as it is now, and let's say they say mowed lawns in summer 2022. Let's help the student make that line better. Put a hat on like a journalist. Ask some questions. What questions would you ask to pull some numbers out of that experience of mowing lawns in the summer? What questions could we ask where numbers exist? I'll give you one to get started. How many yards did you mow this summer? Right? How many total yards? What other questions could we ask to add detail and numbers to the experience? Do you have any other thoughts? What other numbers exist when you mow lawns in the summer? How much did you make? How did you find customers? Also, Mindy, how many customers did you have? So how many customers did you have? Thank you, Latrice. And then how many total yards did you mow across all those customers? Right? There's some other numbers here. How many lawns did you start with? How has it grown? Excellent. So like here to there. How much time? Like what was the length of time? Right? The average time to mow the yard. Also another good one, Melvin. In just a few seconds, we've come up with 6, 7 numbers. We could transform that student's bullet point from mowed lawns in summer 2022 to over a 4-week period in summer 22, provided mowing services to 17 clients, mowed In total, 112 lawns 112 times for an average mow time of 17 minutes or 28 minutes. It's like, oh, that's a whole different person now, isn't it? And once again, just like the research on the company and the person, was this information sitting right there? Was it already available? We already did the work. The most unfortunate thing about job applications is people write about themselves in very vague language and they leave their good stuff over here. I think about it like a sheet of ice. We're right on the surface, and the good stuff is right below that sheet. Right underneath is all the good stuff, all the numbers, the experiences, the stories, the research. It's all right there. It's not hiding. It's not under lock by the FBI. I'll come back to that. It's right there. And the students that student sweated it out all summer, mowing yards all over the neighborhood, busted their hump, making money. And if all you're going to say is, I mowed lawns, you leave all the good stuff over there. And would the employer ever really know all those details unless you told them? Of course not. How would they ever know? You have to control your story, control your narrative, own your numbers, and own your experiences. So the last thing to think about is adding numbers to your resume and thinking about yourself in terms of, I am a collection of numbers. And you, as the instructor, helping them to think about, where are the numbers in your story? Because it's a very powerful question that can have tremendous opportunity for them if they understand what it means to quantify and measure what they've done, and to really look at it from all the angles. And one last thing about it, because you can get kind of fun. You say, well, if you mowed this many lawns in a day, how many did you do in a week? How many did you do in a month? So the numbers could get bigger and bigger as you go. And that's cool too. So just play around with the numbers, have fun as like a little number session, and just make the best case you can for who you are and why you're a hard worker. All right. I think I've given you plenty to think about. How many of you this school year will bring at least some of these ideas into your classroom? Any hands for that? We'll take some of these techniques. Which technique did you like the most? Which one really stuck with you? Was it researching the company, the employer, the stories, the numbers? Tell me in the chat, which one really hit you and said, ooh, that one. Numbers on the resume, presenter research, stories, quantifying. Researching the rep and asking about their bio. Thank you. Stories, research, the footer on the website for research. Yes. Researching the company and generating conversation starters. Awesome. Awesome. That's what today was really all about, is to give you just a fresh look at this age-old event, the career fair. And the best stuff's been sitting there all along. And I'm excited for you and your students at what's going to happen. And you're welcome to write to me after the career fair if anything great happens, and say, we had a great experience, we had a lot of interest from our employer partners. I want to know, because you know what that is? That's a story too. And I like hearing stories just as much as the next person. So it's an open invitation to share your stories of success with me, with our company, so we can know what went down in your neck of the woods. Now, to reiterate what I said at the beginning, if you missed it, everything we cover today, or most of what we cover today, is provided in a Google Drive folder for free. This is all this. We didn't cover exactly. We didn't get into dress code, but there's something for it. But a lot of what we did is here. Okay. And if you'd like it and you missed this offer, just go to the chat, type the word interested and your email address. Interested and your email address. And if you are new to our community, the goal is to chat for just a few minutes, get to know you. You'll see an invite on your calendar for Thursday or Friday, today or tomorrow or Friday. And if the time's not good, just suggest a new time. It's not a big deal. It's a very quick call, but it helps to speak and make a personal connection. Also, our PD series continues one last time, where we will we'll talk about group dynamics, August 10th, 11 a.m. Please join us for our final session. You'll see an email about it next week with the link to join. Actually, you'll see that tomorrow as well, because we'll send out the recording of today with that link. If you're watching this on a recording, you can still have our resources. Just send us an email to the email in red, the subject line below. And also, everybody's going to receive a certificate for being here live. You'll see that in your email tomorrow. I want to mention one last thing, because how many of you during the school year have visited our virtual internship student webinars? I want to make sure that I tell you what that is. If you're new to us, it's important that you know, and I'm going to share a link in the chat with you. I'm just pulling it up right now. So during the school year, and we'll start this in late August, twice a month, usually, we do a live free webinar in the when we interview people from different jobs. You can look and see the variety of occupations we've already covered. I'll just scroll slowly. You can see on our YouTube channel, so many different people across so many pathways. Video game development, that was popular. Ag and trades and working in sports and medical careers, a chef. So these are live conversations, just like today. You can ask questions. Students can ask their own questions. Thank you, Cindy. So we're going to bring them back. We're going to put out our big schedule in the next few weeks, and they'll be usually twice a month. And so I'm going to give you a couple of links to hang on to in the chat right now, and you'll see more about it soon, but I just want to get it on your radar if you're new to us. This link is to our YouTube channel where we put all of our recordings. We currently have 30 recorded sessions, and they're about 30 minutes. You know, the meat of the conversation is about 30 minutes. So a lot of good 30-minute time, you know, things you could spread out during the year. Then also this page on our website will have has all of our previously recorded sessions with links to recordings and the worksheets that go along with it. And we will be updating that page soon with our fall and spring schedule for this coming year. So save both pages, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you'd like, so you'll get notified of new recordings. Just generally be aware of what's going on so that you can share these out with your team when it's a certain pathway that really, you know, oh, so-and-so would really like the health one they're doing or the trades one they're doing or whatever it is. It's like you can be the distribution point for your school or your district to let them know what's going on. They're always free and they're 45 minutes during the school day live in Zoom. All right. Any final questions, or I will dispatch you 10 minutes early. I appreciate everybody's time today. I think this one really had a lot of substance and very, very practical. So we look forward to sharing these resources out. Thanks to those who provided their emails. We'll be in touch with you very soon. And until then, I hope you enjoy the end of your July. It went by way too fast. And we'll see you in early August for our final PD. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.